Hello, and welcome to Send and Use EBSA or Emotional Based School Avoidance information session. Today, I'll be talking through some slides that hopefully will provide some useful information and guidance for your child or young person experiencing EBSA. Send and You provides special educational needs and disability information, advice, and support, and we cover Bristol, North Somerset, and South Gloucestershire. We provide free, impartial, and confidential information, advice, and support to children and young people with special educational needs and/or disabilities, as well as to their parents or carers and professionals. We have a helpline that is open Monday to Friday, and the best way to contact us is via the contact form on our website. But if you've used our service within the last 6 months, you can book onto our bookable appointments via the website. We can be regularly found in the community, offering things such as bookable appointments, and please do check our social media pages for updates on when these are running. Our aims for today are to help you understand more about support for special educational needs and disability and how EBSA relates to this, for you to feel more confident in discussing your child's needs and planning for their future, and to know where you can go for more information and help. As you can see on your screen, this is the key legislation and guidance which we have built today's session information around. All of these are available to view online, and these can be useful to be aware of when experiencing EBSA with your child or young person. EBSA can go by different terms, but EBSA we have found is the one most commonly used. But the underlying factor is that it results in a child or young person being unable to attend school due to matters such as anxiety. We have listed how this may present in a child or young person who's experiencing EBSA, and some of these you may have likely experienced with your own child. When speaking with your child's school, it may be useful to have an understanding of what SEN is defined as, and there is no need for a diagnosis to be in place. It may be the child or young person in question may not have a learning difficulty directly from a learning disability, but because of their disability, they are unable to access mainstream education or training without some steps needing to be taken to enable this. In other words, they are hindered from being able to access education in the same way as their typically developing peers. Sometimes we hear that a school may not be satisfied that EBSA is or can be the result of SEN needs. But as the slide shows, if the anxiety goes on to have a long and negative impact on engagement, it can be considered as a disability, or the EBSA could have resulted in unmet SEN needs or needs that have not yet been recognised. To carry on from the slide before, we can see that social, emotional, and mental health is actually an area of SEN need, and this is the case be a child at SEN support level who would be following the graduated approach, or EHCP or education healthcare plan level. When looking at SEN and support, it should focus on the needs of the child and not the diagnosis, as often a child may not be diagnosed or be on a long waiting list. A child may sit under one area of need or multiple, but when an area of need has been identified, it should be supported. EBSA can be supported within a school by following the best endeavours, meaning the school must do everything they reasonably can to meet the child or young person's special educational needs. The school can put into place quality first teaching, which focuses on inclusion support from the class teacher to provide learning for all pupils on a different level if required. If a pupil requires further support, either because quality first teaching is not working well, or the pupil has been identified as needing more tailored support, the school should adopt a graduated approach of support, which I will explain more about shortly. The school can make referrals to specialists at any point for advice on support and interventions for a pupil. Some schools may have staff members who can provide pastoral care, which means supporting pupils with their emotional well-being. In some circumstances, a part-time timetable may be suitable to meet pupils' needs. The working together to improve school attendance under point 66 highlights a part-time timetable should have the agreement of both the school and the parent, have a clear ambition of a reintegration plan, have regular review dates, and have a proposed end date. Parts 365 and 366 of the Working Together to Improve School Attendance advises on providing medical evidence for school absences. And as we can see, schools must record absences as authorised where it is not possible for a pupil to attend due to illness, and this is both for physical and mental health. Schools are not expected to routinely request that parents provide medical evidence to support illness. In most cases, a parent's notification that their child is too ill to attend school can be accepted without question or concern. Where medical evidence is deemed necessary, schools should not be rigid about the form of evidence requested and should speak to the family about what evidence is available. If there is no written evidence, schools can have a conversation with the parent and pupil if appropriate, which may serve as evidence itself for recording the absence. Medical evidence can be requested if the school has a genuine or reasonable doubt about the absence. Let's look back at the school now and what the general duties are on the school. Every school must use their best endeavours to make sure that a child with SEN gets the support they need. This means doing everything they can to meet children and young people's SEN. Schools must ensure a child has opportunity like their peers, so this can be in relation to school trips, being included in lessons, and the expectation is not to be placed at a disadvantage compared to peers. The SENCO is usually the best person of contact when discussing EBSA concerns, as they oversee the support that can go into place. When having meetings, it is usually helpful if they can attend. Schools should also publish a SEN information report on their website, which you can usually find under the SEN section. This can be useful to use in meetings or when talking with the SENCO, as it's expected to highlight how the school supports pupils with SEN. To follow on from this, there are also specific duties on a school when it's agreed the child does have SEN needs within the school. The school should record this in the school records, and they must inform the pupil's parents that special educational provision is being made. They must provide an annual report for parents on their child's progress, and they should meet with parents at least 3 times a year for those receiving SEN support. And they should talk to parents regularly to set clear outcomes and review the progress towards them. The Children and Families Act highlights a particular level of support known as the graduated approach, which can often go by the unofficial name of SEN support. I will speak through the process now, but we do also have guides available on our website. It starts with assess, which is basically information gathering. Primary schools tend to do this with SENCO observations in the classroom, and in secondaries, this tends to be a round robin, where the SENCO will email subject teachers to ask about the strengths and difficulties within the lesson. Next is the plan. This is where yourself, the teacher, and typically the SENCO will come together, and if decided support is required and has surpassed quality first teaching, a SEN support plan will go into place. The plan should be written with SMART targets and be clear on how support will be delivered. Next is to do, and the plan is then the responsibility of the class teacher, even if the child or young person is undertaking support outside of the classroom or with a teaching assistant. And lastly is to review, and as before, a minimum of 3 times a year, the plan is to be reviewed to look at if support has been effective. Next steps should then be discussed, particularly if progress has not been made. The local authority, or LA, has a legal duty to secure suitable alternative education for children of compulsory school age who, by reason of illness, exclusion, or otherwise, may not have for any period received suitable education unless such arrangements are made for them, and this applies to those with and without an EHC plan. The Arranging Education for Children Who Cannot Attend School Because of Health Needs on page 7 highlights that LA should provide alternative education as soon as it is clear that the child will be away from school for 15 days. This can be consecutive days or over the course of a school year. These arrangements should be made as soon as possible, but at the latest by the 6th day of the absence. It also outlines that as soon as it is clear that the school can no longer support the child's health needs and provide suitable education, the school should speak to the local authority about putting alternative provision in place. To bring together previous slides, the school could also have regular, open, and proactive conversation with parents and, where appropriate, the child or young person. Obtain the views of the pupil to identify barriers to attendance. Consider sending work home. Consider what referrals could be made to support the pupil back into school. Consider how to use their best endeavours and what reasonable adjustments may need to be made. If they have not done so already, consider if the pupil has SEND needs and if they require support, and consider implementing a part-time timetable. If you are being threatened with an attendance order due to your child's absences from school, you could write to the LA Educational Welfare Service, as well as any educational welfare officer employed by the school or multi-academy trust. You should explain the barriers to attending education your child is experiencing. For example, if your child has SEN and/or was experiencing mental health difficulties. When you are aware information is being gathered, if you haven't done so already, it is a good idea to be clear with everyone what difficulties your child is experiencing and what you have done to try and support them to attend school. You could propose to the school that joint working together between themselves and other support agencies to help identify and support your child's needs might be a more effective way of supporting them back into school. It may be beneficial to keep a written timeline that shows what agencies or support you have sought that is dated for reference if required. If the LA continue to propose serving an attendance order, or they do serve one, you may wish to consider seeking legal counsel from an educational law solicitor. You can check if you qualify for legal aid online. The Working Together to Improve School Attendance Guidance states that the prosecution of parents should take place where all other routes have failed or are not deemed appropriate. This could include making the case for a community or parenting order where the parent is convicted to secure engagement with support. Parents and carers to support their child back into school. You can consider contacting your GP to discuss your child and young person's anxiety and mental health needs and any support that may be appropriate. Consider asking the school nursing team for support. Ask for a meeting with the SENCO and check what support has been put in place or can go into place. Contact the local authority if 15 days or more education has been missed to request alternative provision. Complain to the school if you are being asked to consider home education or changing schools. Ask the school to carry out the assess stage of the graduated approach to assess all of their social, emotional, and mental health needs. Consider making an application for an EHC needs assessment if support within school has not been successful. If your child has an EHCP already, request an early annual review. Communicate with the school if further specialist involvement may be required, and consider if there is need for reasonable adjustments and how these may look for your child or young person. In our reasonable adjustments guide available on our website, we give suggestions on what the school could consider putting into place. Your local parent carer forum may be a useful organisation to seek support from, especially as all local areas now are offering EBSA-based coffees. Local mental health organisations, such as COOF and Off the Record, may also be useful avenues of support, and some areas may also have charities that offer lower cost counselling. The LA areas also offer EBSA support to schools across the local areas. Please do check your local offer for further information. This is an image of our parent checklist, which you can find at the bottom of our EBSA frequently asked questions. To find this, please visit our website following the web address on your screen. Please click on Resources, and then within Guides and Toolkits, you will find this resource. This checklist was created to help assist in meetings to discuss with your child or young person's educational setting to see what support has already been tried and what other options may be available to consider moving forward. These are two snapshots taken from our Things I Want to Say, our personal review workbook to help support children and young people having their views heard and shared with those supporting them. On our website, you can find this resource under Young People 0 to 25, and then please follow our easy read fact sheets and resources. This workbook helps share the views of children and young people who may wish to share their views in a different way to verbally. Your child or young person may wish to type out their views, they may wish to write their views themselves or have you scribe for them, or they may wish to draw pictures. The workbook is there for them to express themselves in a way that feels more suitable for them. You may find using this resource useful in meetings when discussing your child or young person's EBSA, so their voice is central when discussing matters. If you would like any further advice or information, please do check out our website, and this includes our guides and toolkits. You can also find our contact form on the website and our bookable appointments available to those who have used our service within the last 6 months. I do hope this has been helpful, and please do take care.